Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to Switch to Life, and in today's video, we are going to be reviewing the second movie of the Jurassic Park franchise, that of course being The Lost World, which I found to be very interesting, especially the part where Alan Grant didn't return. He was in the first movie as the main character, but then nowhere in the second movie because they decided that Jeff Goldblum's character, Ian Malcolm, should be the lead. And I thought that was a little weird at first, but as I've watched this movie more and more, it's still super good despite that. The reason that we're reviewing The Lost World today is because today marks the 28th anniversary since the film was originally released. And of course, in preparation for Jurassic World Rebirth, which will be in theaters this July. So without further ado, let's dive in. First off, the dinosaurs still look absolutely amazing. I love how they are still using the puppetry in this movie, but they're also getting better with the CGI. And of course, the action sequences are getting so much more intense compared to the first movie, and I absolutely enjoyed that. Especially with the velociraptors, which I hate to admit are still not accurate to their paleontology parts. And I don't think they ever will be because they need these velociraptors to be the movie monsters. Luckily, they brought back a bunch of the dinosaurs who are accurate, left out the inaccurate ones, and of course, they brought in a bunch of new dinosaurs, like the Parasaurolophus or the Stygimoloch, and my personal favorite of the new ones, the Stegosaurus. And I also really enjoyed the costume designs for this movie because they were really good, especially with the military personnel that was hired by InGen, and of course, there's also the acting that was going on. I really enjoyed that because, like I said, with the puppetry, that makes it so the dinosaurs can actually be in the movie with the actors, and that gives them a real sense of fear. And then, of course, there's the music, which I really loved, especially because it not only took what was in the first movie, but it also expanded on it by introducing its own version. You got some Isla Nublar soundtrack, but of course there's some Isla Sorna soundtrack as well, which is really cool. So it takes place 4 years after the fall of Jurassic Park, which was in 1993, so this is 1997. During that time, Isla Nublar has been blocked off from pretty much everybody. However, there's actually a Site B. It serves as the research facility for Jurassic Park, meaning that while some dinosaurs are born on Isla Nublar, there are plenty more that are born inside of a lab on Isla Sorna and then eventually brought over to Isla Nublar. So, like I said, Isla Nublar has been blocked off by the government so no one can access it. But Isla Sorna is discovered when a family manages to crash land on the island, and now the government is debating whether or not they should destroy the dinosaurs completely. And when John Hammond hears about this, he loses control of InGen, and he decides that he needs a team of researchers to go to Isla Sorna, at which point they can study the dinosaurs and make it so that they get enough evidence to prove that these monsters are just animals, and they have every much a right to live as other creatures do. And what I really loved is that, unlike some other corrupt billionaires in this movie, John Hammond doesn't want to exploit the dinosaurs by creating another failure of a park. What he wants is to just leave the dinosaurs in peace, away from humanity, not just to keep humans safe, but also to make sure the dinosaurs are able to live out their lives peacefully on an isolated island. And I really enjoy that. Unfortunately, he still needs a research team to go. So he reaches out to Ian Malcolm and offers him the job, and Ian is super skeptical about this because he does not want to return to a dinosaur-infested island where he was nearly killed. I think John Hammond did this on purpose because if anyone is going to convince the public that the dinosaurs should be left alone, it should be the guy who hates them the most, right? So Ian tries to refuse, but then he discovers that one of the team members is his old girlfriend, Sarah, and unfortunately, she's already on the island. So he decides that he wants to turn this research mission into a rescue mission. So, along with Eddie Carr, who is a field equipment expert, and Nick Van Owen, who is a photojournalist and environmentalist, Ian heads over to Isla Sorna to rescue his girlfriend Sarah Harding, and along the way, there's a stowaway in his own daughter Kelly. Yeah, apparently Ian has a big problem with getting girlfriends, and he has a lot of ex-wives because he just can't stay with one person. And sometimes that means he has a lot of kids, and Kelly happens to be one of them. However, it's clear that Ian Malcolm actually loves his daughter, and he wants what's best for her, and he actually cares about taking an interest in her life, though he admittedly doesn't do a good job considering he didn't know that she got cut from the gymnastics team.
The school cut you from the team?
Anyway, they go to the island and they meet up with Sarah, who honestly didn't even need to be rescued because she, as a behavioral paleontologist, is trying to study the animal's behavior without leaving any footprint on the island herself, and she does a really good job at that. Unfortunately, she kind of does put herself in unnecessary danger, but then again, it didn't seem dangerous at the time. Like going to meet up with a baby stegosaurus and taking close-up pictures of it, only for the camera to start making a weird noise, startling the baby and causing the mama to attack. Anyway, they all return to base camp in an RV, and that's when they discover that there's an InGen helicopter flying to the island, because apparently John Hammond was fired as CEO, and now a new CEO, his own nephew, Peter Ludlow, is taking over, and Ludlow wants to fulfill John Hammond's dream. He decides that he doesn't want to bring the dinosaurs to an island, he wants to bring the dinosaurs to the mainland so that he can open a San Diego Jurassic Park, which sounds like a terrible idea if you ask me. But anyway, along with an army of InGen personnel who use military-grade weaponry to capture all of the dinosaurs, and that's when Nick says that John Hammond told him that they should expect people like this, and that Nick was supposed to free the dinosaurs that they would capture. So the team goes in and, under the cover of darkness, frees as many dinosaurs as possible, and that's when they discover that one of the dinosaurs they captured was a baby T-Rex with a broken leg. So they take it back to the RV and make a cast for the dinosaur. Unfortunately, that's when the parents show up. And Sarah Harding is actually very happy about this because it proves that, unlike what paleontologists first theorized, that T-Rex would just abandon their young in the wilderness, it proves that, like many animals around the world, they care about their young and will do anything to protect them. So the two T-Rexes, after getting their baby safely away, decide to attack the RV and push it off of the cliff, and Eddie tries to use his mechanical expertise to save the team, and while he does manage to succeed, it costs him his life because the T-Rexes come back and eat him. Then the military team of InGen shows up, and they decide to help out the research team, and they need to work together in order to get off the island safely, because both teams have abandoned their projects. So they come up with a plan to move to the center of the island where all of the carnivores are so that they can go to a research facility and hopefully find a satellite phone to call for help and rescue. Along the way, they encounter a ton of problems, including, but not limited to, an army of Compsognathus, who are brand new dinosaurs, attacking one guy so that they can feast on his remains. And just like when you go camping, you're not supposed to put food in your tent because a bear might attack. Well, a T-Rex decided to attack. And then they also run in the long grass and get picked off one by a bunch of velociraptors. And then they get in a final battle with said velociraptors. And eventually, Nick manages to use the satellite phone to call for help. And that's when rescue comes and shows up. But during that time, Roland, who is a big game hunter, is after the T-Rex because he's the king of the dinosaurs. And while he does manage to shoot a T-Rex and take home the baby T-Rex, he's a little upset over the fact that his friend died during all the chaos, and he decides to quit working for InGen. Unfortunately, Peter Ludlow doesn't take his advice, and he ends up bringing the T-Rex all the way to San Diego, to the mainland, mainland, where unfortunately the T-Rex manages to escape and cause a lot of havoc, foreshadowing the events of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom when dinosaurs actually will come on the mainland to stay. So Ian and Sarah come up with the plan to find the baby T-Rex and use it to lure the bigger T-Rex back to the ship so they can ship them both back to Isla Sorna. Luckily, the plan actually works, but I do love the fact that the T-Rex recognized Ian and Sarah as the ones who originally took his baby, so there's that. And I also like the ending where Peter Ludlow, still obsessed with making San Diego, decides that he wants to kill the adult T-Rex and take the baby T-Rex and raise it as the star attraction of San Diego Jurassic Park. And that would eventually be his downfall because the mama would turn it into a teaching lesson and teach the baby T-Rex how to kill your prey. And I really enjoyed that because Peter Ludlow was just this corrupt billionaire, and it's nice that he was killed by his own hubris. And so they ship off the dinosaurs back to Isla Sorna, and we see the T-Rex family made whole, and Ian Malcolm and Sarah Harding and Nick Van Owen turn in their research, and combined with the San Diego incident, John Hammond is able to make a case that the dinosaurs should be left alone on the islands, and they shouldn't be brought to the mainland, they shouldn't be killed off, and they have a right to live. Because these creatures aren't monsters, they're just animals who are just trying to find a way to live, and they're actually thriving in their own world. They have no reason to come to the mainland. And so the film ends with a bit of a happy note. And if you enjoyed watching the film, be sure that you read the book, because unlike the original movie, which was kind of based heavily off of the book, the second book, The Lost World, is completely different from the movie. Sure, both have Ian Malcolm as the main character, but the story couldn't be any more different. So with that in mind, feel free to check out the book. I will not be discussing it on this channel, but please feel free to subscribe so that you can support the channel and keep an eye out for when I review the rest of the Jurassic Park films. Also, if you really want to support the channel, make sure that you join my membership program. But above all else, make sure that you're staying safe out there, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.
What do you need?
We need rope.
Rope! What? Anything else?
Yeah, 3 double cheeseburgers with everything.
No onions on mine!
I don't know, we'll turn it on.